Here's the thing that no one really talks about when you start your healing journey or just on the pathway to healing in general, okay? Is that it isn't something that is fixed. It isn't really something that's done. There isn't this imaginary finish line that you cross, and it sure as fuck isn't linear, okay? And I'm going to really talk to you today about what that healing journey really looks like and the pathway to cultivating wholeness. Okay. So, little caveat before we dive into that is that I just got off the call with one of my clients who feels like they collapsed, who feels like they're going stagnant or moving backwards. And it's very triggering and difficult for this person to meet themselves where they're at right now. How many of you can relate to this, to feeling like, I should be past this by now. I've already dealt with this, so on and so forth. If you can feel me, let me know in the chat. And the question that prompted this is that how will I know when I'm healed? How will I know when I'm done, right? And I feel that so many of us approach the pathway to healing with this really masculine linear mindset, believing it's something else that we have to achieve, that we're going to check off, that we're going to accomplish, and then we're done. And what I really focus on in my containers and really through the use of psychedelics is helping people to really begin to embrace the pulsation of aliveness. Okay. And this is the pathway to healing, because healing isn't this magic thing that happens and then you're fluffy and rainbows and you're fixed and you never get triggered and you never get pissed off and life never happens. Hello, you're still 100% human. All of these things are going to happen. But what the healing journey really teaches us and gives us an opportunity to do is to meet ourselves and relate to ourselves in a new way, and also how we meet and relate to our life. That is the healing journey. When we move from this place of reaction to response, right? It doesn't mean that we don't get pissed off. It doesn't mean that we don't have bad days. It doesn't mean that we don't get sad, but it's actually creating the capacity and the safety and the container for the whole range and the whole spectrum of what it means to what it means to be alive and what it means to be human, to have space to be felt, to be witnessed, to be held exactly as you are. Because the healing path is so much more about how you begin relating and meeting life and allowing these different cyclical seasons to take place, and for you just to not resist them, to not reject them, to not try to suppress, to not try to numb. Because whenever you're doing those things, what you are essentially doing is telling that aspect of you or that part of you that it isn't welcome here. And just because you try to numb and suppress and dismiss an emotion, a memory, a response in the body, it doesn't make it go away. Okay. It doesn't magically make it, you did enough mantras and mindset works to shift yourself out of that bad mood. You fixed yourself. No, what happened is you're repressing energy in your body and in your nervous system, which then become trapped in the system, and it begins to wreak havoc in our lives. Okay? Because if you don't allow space and room and safety, the big word being safety here, for that emotion to emote and to be felt and be witnessed, it comes back around like a tsunami, 10 times bigger, stronger than before. And usually in that way, when it shows back up or it manifests, it's going to be in a way that isn't serving or isn't in alignment. That's when you lash out at a loved one, or I'm a parent and it shows up in a way that you have an outburst and you yell at your kid, right? Like, I'm still human too. And this is why the pathway to healing is really about learning to cultivate aliveness. It's really about learning to create room and capacity in your life where none of it is good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just information. It's just feeling. It's something inside of you that's saying, hey, this right here isn't in alignment for me. Hey, this right here crossed a boundary. Hey, this is something that I deeply care about. And when we can begin to relate to our emotions and our sensations in this new way, you really create a different relationship with your body and open yourself up to receive the intuitive wisdom that's been there all along. But you've been so busy numbing out, suppressing out, rejecting it, trying to switch into a high vibe that you're missing the information, the wisdom, the gold that's being presented to you. And if you keep neglecting and rejecting the body, it starts to manifest in different ways, whether it be mental illness, emotional problems, physical illnesses, so on and so forth. So, when we're really talking about the pathway to healing, what we really want to start doing is allowing ourselves to meet ourselves exactly where we're at. Because you're not where you're at by mistake. You're not experiencing what you're experiencing by mistake, right? So instead of rejecting it and approaching it with this anti-energy, it's about creating space and getting really close and intimate with it, getting curious about what's there, creating space where you just get to drop in and feel with no agenda, not trying to fix it, not trying to change it, allowing yourself to just be witnessed and held with exactly with where you're at and what is showing up and being illuminated for you. Because the crazy thing that happens, and I've witnessed this time and time again, is that when we create space to just feel, and whether it's to be angry, whether it's to be sad, whether it's to be pissed off, like insert blank, it doesn't matter. You get a deeper intuition or a different reference point, and new information begins to unfold simply with you being with what is, not rejecting, not suppressing, right? Not trying to fix it or change it. You actually then begin to notice what's really there for you and what's at the core of what is trying to be communicated with you. Okay? And coming back to this point about feeling like I should be over this or I already dealt with this, the way that healing works is it works as more of a spiral. And as you evolve on a spiritual level, on a consciousness level, right? Personal development, whatever you want to say, you're constantly going to be coming back around to old patterns, old memories, old traumas, relationships, right? For you to be able to perceive it from a higher lens of consciousness than you did the first time around, which then also will present different areas or little nuggets or things within that are still waiting to be healed that you weren't really seeing or had the capacity to heal the time before, if that makes sense, right? So it's not that you're going backwards. It's not that you're collapsing. It's that you're revisiting the same charge, the same activation from a higher reference point in order to heal and alchemize and release whatever is ready to be let go in that season. Okay? And it's giving yourself the grace and the space and the safety to be 100% human, that instead of coming up into these different roadblocks or things that you feel like are setbacks, you'll see them as divinely orchestrated shortcuts for your becoming, for your ascension, right? For your transformation, for your healing. Okay? So the pathway to healing isn't fixed. It isn't linear. It isn't done. There isn't some imaginary finish line, but it's about changing the way that you relate to yourself, that you relate to your life, how you meet yourself, and how you hold yourself there. That will literally change everything.